Good afternoon. I will call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Ways and Means Committee to order. I'm the chair of the committee, Abdi Wasami, and we are joined by council members Cunningham, Johnson, Fletcher, Palmisano, and Vice President Johnson, and we are a quorum of the committee and can therefore conduct our business today. Today, on the consent agenda, we have 30 items for the committee's consideration. And I'll read the 30 items. Item number 1 is a contract with Green Minneapolis for operation, maintenance, and programming of PV Plaza. Item number 2 is a transfer of operation, maintenance, programming of downtown East Commons to the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. Item number 3 is a contract amendment with Morgan Constructions, Inc. for Convention Center kitchen and ductwork replacement project. Item number 4 is a contract amendment with Denny's Construction Company, LLC, for structural steel installation modification for public service building project. Item number 5 is a contract amendment with Lejeune Steel Company for the additional structural steel material supply for public service building project. Item number 6 is a contract amendment with Knutson Construction Services, Inc. for concrete superstructure changes for the public service building. Item number 7 is a contract amendment with Spec 7 Group LLC for additional waterproofing for public service building project. Item number 8 is a contract amendment with Kevit Companies for minor scope of work changes for public service building project. Item number 9 is a capital long-range improvement committee appointments. Item number 10 is an internal loans in lieu of issuing refunding bonds for the Milwaukee Depot Development, Humboldt Greenway Development, West Side Milling Development, and general obligation refunding bonds. Item number 11 is an appointed position in the police department, and this is the chief of staff of the MPD. Item number 12 is the 2019 politically appointed employee salary schedule. Item number 13 is a 2019 non-represented employee salary schedule. Item number 14 is a collective bargaining agreement, and this is for the Firefighters Unit 2019 through to 2021. Item number 15 is another collective bargaining agreement, and this is for the Electrical Technicians Unit 2019 through to 2021. Item number 16 is a grant application to the United States Economic Development Administration for economic recovery assistance for the Minneapolis Promise Zone. Item number 17 is a local government amicus brief in State of California et al. Versus Alex M. Azar, second et al. And item number 18 is a Crystal Lake Residential Street Resurfacing Project approval and assessment. Item number 19 is a Monroe Street Northeast Street Resurfacing Project approval and assessment. Item number 20 is a cooperative agreement with Basset Creek Watershed Management Commission for floodplain and stormwater management study. Item number 21 is a contract amendment with Short Elliott Hendrickson, Inc. for sanitary and storm manhole inspection change orders. Item number 22 is a contract with IPT LLC for a critical parking permit management system. Item number 23 is a Washington Avenue Streetscape Project, Hennepin Avenue to 5th Avenue South assessment reduction. Item number 24 is a capital project closeout and appropriation and revenue adjustment within the city's capital project and enterprise funds. Item number 25 is a bid for gate valve vault repair and replacement. Item number 26 is a bid for installation of large diameter cured in-place pipe. Item number 27 is a bid for North Loop pedestrian improvement project. Item number 28 is a bid for cleaning and coating of thickener tanks. Item number 29 is a bid for University of Minnesota project bikeway project. Item number 30 is a gift acceptance from the Minnesota Department of Transportation for Floyd B. Olson Memorial Statue. And I'll move all items for approval. Is there any discussion, my colleagues? Yes, I see Councilmember Cunningham. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to speak briefly to items 12 and 13 to be able to clarify for the record as well as our staffs. This is not the the evaluation of the positions to be able to see if the salaries are correct for the amount of work. I expressed concerns about our staffs being underpaid in comparison to the amount of work that they have to do, and asked for an analysis of the job description and the salary steps. So just wanted to clarify that this is not the result of that. This is has already been budgeted and is already a part of the process. Thank you for the clarification, Director Intermill. And if your staffs have not completed that analysis, to please make sure that they do, so that we can make sure that they're paid fairly for all of the work that they do. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Cunningham. So that wasn't a question. You got the answers that you're looking for, right?
Yes.
Okay, so nothing further with that. Any other questions or queries? All right, seeing none, I'll move approval of all those items on the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. All these items are approved. And next, moving on to our discussion item, we have one discussion item on our agenda, and that's item number 31. And that is a contract with Association for Black Economic Power for the provision of banking services and financial literacy education for Minneapolis residents. And there's two parts to this discussion item. One is authorizing a loan agreement with the Association for Black Economic Power in the amount of $410,000 for occupancy, leasehold improvements, and equipment forgivable under the accomplishment of certain goals. And the second item is authorizing a grant agreement with the Association for Black Economic Power in an amount up to $90,000 for the provision of banking services to and financial literacy education for our Minneapolis residents. And I have a number of speakers, and I think, he was just over there. All right, so we have Micah Intermo, our Director of Budget here. Start us off, Micah.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, for the record, my name is Micah Intermill, the Budget Director, and I am a lot lighter on my feet than I appear, so glad to be joining you from this side of the dais today. And I really am excited to be here. This is the culmination, well, not the culmination, this is the next step in a lot of good work that's been happening in the community that I'm proud to have been a very small part of here at the city. So in the 2019 budget that you all adopted at the end of last year, $500,000 was included one time to continue to support the development and launch of Village Financial for the purpose of providing banking services to underserved members of our community. And the Association of Black Economic Power will be here to speak more to the work that they've done and plan to do with Village. I just intend to speak to the technical details of the two items in front of you. So the first item is an economic development loan forgivable under the accomplishment of certain criteria, which are listed on the right hand of the slide in front of you. And so briefly, those are to first and foremost open a brick and mortar store in North Minneapolis in 2019. Second, to provide a series of financial literacy education opportunities for anyone in the city of Minneapolis. Third is to enroll at least 500 members in checking and savings accounts this year. And fourth is to hold at least 6 major community outreach events promoting Village, recruiting members, and really getting this opportunity out and available and in use in our community. So if those performance benchmarks are met, then the $410,000 loan will be forgiven and would not need to be paid back. And the intended use of those funds is listed then on the left side of the slide in front of you, primarily for, exclusively for real property acquisition or improvement. We've worked closely with the city attorney's office, and they advise that we follow this forgivable economic development loan path, which is laid out in Minnesota statute and available to all cities, not just the city of Minneapolis. The second piece then of the $500,000 contribution to this effort is a economic development grant award of $90,000. And that will be used for operating costs associated with the performance benchmarks I just talked about. And it includes things like staff time, any outside professional services that the cooperative may need to contract for, as well as promotion and marketing, consistent with the constitutional public purpose doctrine, meaning any dollars that the city spends must be to effectuate a public purpose. There are individual exclusions from the eligible expenses, such as food and entertainment at events or door prizes, and so those types of costs wouldn't be eligible to be reimbursed via this grant. Any questions on the technical particulars?
I have, I think, a question from Council Vice President Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Warsame, Mr. Innermill. Notice on your earlier slide, there was like $55,000 for hardware, and I'm wondering about software. I would imagine that there's some pretty
More expensive.
specific software that's required for financial institutions, the security of that software. Is that included in this package, or would that be an additional?
So, Mr. Chair and Council Vice President, so it's important to note that the city is not the sole funder of this effort. And there are a number of other community partners who I'll let the association speak to directly who else is engaged, but those types of costs would be supported through other contributions.
Okay. Is the group going to speak to some of those issues?
Yes. So, any other questions for Micah? No? Okay. We also have the Director of Development, Malia Conley of the association here as well. Welcome.
Thank you. I got locked out. Sorry. Thank you, Chair Warsame and Vice Chair Fletcher and members of the committee for taking time to hear from us today. Great. Our work began in a community room on West Broadway on the north side with close to 200 community members coming together to discuss how economic activism can move the dial of inequity in the Black community. The result from that democratic process was to prioritize the establishment of a Black-led financial institution. With help from the Jan Rose Phillips Family Foundation, we established the Association for Black Economic Power. And in February of 2017, we began the work establishing Village Financial Cooperative. Our executive committee, pictured here, launched several community events, rallied community support, and helped maintain the grassroots initiative of our work. After less than 18 months of community engagement and organizing, Village boasted over 1,600 pledge deposits, equaling over $4.25 million of deposits, and submitted our credit union charter application to the Minnesota Department of Commerce in record time. By the end of 2018, we had an approved charter application, 1,750 pledge deposits, and secured enough operating capital to move forward to the final step of the process, approved deposit insurance from the National Credit Union Administration. The history of Black cooperative economics runs long and deep in the Black community of Minnesota and was the bedrock for a thriving Black cooperative community that we now know as Rondo. Establishing institutions for and by those facing the consequences of market failure and institutional racism is not a new concept. It is a tried and true strategy that has worked to shift inequity in the past, which is why we believe it is working today. Even in the short time of our work, we've established a small dollar consumer loan fund, the New Day loan, and from July to November, we had 20 loans out at a 100% repayment rate. Our pledge members are ready and committed to contributing to equitable cooperative economics that builds prosperity in our community. As you know, credit unions are important vehicles in creating and maintaining equitable communities. While banks prey on vulnerable communities like Northside or ignore them altogether, a credit union circulates wealth, is controlled by its member owners, and can be people and mission driven, not driven by profit. The impact of this work is real and tangible. We are encouraged by our mayor and city council who have decided with us that the time for admiring the problems of racial inequity is over and the time for taking action is now. We're inspired by our community who didn't wait for someone to save them, but came together with a powerful strategy to insulate and create prosperity for themselves. We're honored to hold this historical work, and thank you for your commitment to supporting it. I'd like to thank the wonderful city staff who have guided us through this process, Mark Ruff and Micah Intermill, and their teams, as well as Sean Pierce from the Office of Mayor Fry. And I'm happy to answer any lingering questions that might be on the dais.
Thank you, Director Conley. I see Council Vice President Jenkins with a question.
Thank you, Chair Osami and Ms. Conley, and congratulations. I mean, this is a monumental vision and accomplishment, and so congratulations. I had asked a question of Mr. Intermill earlier. Maybe you can address that a little bit, and then and talk a little bit about some of the other partners who are engaged in this work.
Sure. As I mentioned, the J. and Rose Phillips Family Foundation is one of our larger partners. I have a longer list of our funders. I don't think I can spout them off by memory, but I can get them to you. As far as the difference between the hardware and the software, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of software. It's called the core processor that actually runs the inner workings of the credit union. The challenge that we faced was making sure that the tangible elements of running that software was available to us. So there's a lot of initial hardware cost and upfront cost in establishing and onboarding and integrating that core processor system that we have to have in place. So that includes things like an ATM. As you may know, our credit union will not be a cash credit union. We decided to go cashless. So the ATM is going to be really important so that as our members come in and make financial transactions, they have access to an ATM to get access to cash if they need it, as well as things like registers for taking in checks and things like that, check readers, et cetera. So that's the hardware part that you're seeing on the breakdown. And as Micah mentioned, there are other funding partners that we have to fill in the gaps of any funding we might need for the long-term expense of maintaining that core processor software work.
And then, many credit unions are affinity-based or geographically based. Is there any of those sort of restrictions related to village?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that.
Cooperative?
So every credit union is bound by a field of membership. It's either affinity-based, it could be members of a church, it can be association, it could be, in Wing's case, the profession, so those who work in the airline or flight industry. For our application, because of the fact that we had access to other Black leaders who have established Black credit unions before, we knew that having a geographic field of membership would be the most appropriate. In the past, what has been really detrimental to Black cooperatives is having a very small geographic field of membership, because as you go through the process, you want to see continual growth. Even though we're not profit focused, we're people focused, we still have to make sure that in the industry we have the ability to grow. And so by having a geographical field of membership that is Hennepin and Ramsey County, we give ourselves plenty of space to support not only the mission of investing in Northside, but bringing the broader community together to make that investment as well. So the field of membership would be anyone who lives, works, worships, or goes to school in Hennepin or Ramsey County.
And then loans would be accessible to that broad field of membership as well.
If you're a member, you can absolutely apply for a loan. Depending on what types of loans we develop, all of those things will be decided by our board and by our members through voting. So, yes.
Wow, awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Council Vice President. Councilmember Cunningham.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Conley, for that. I first just want to say that it is radically powerful to have an organization named the Association of Black Economic Power. Here, leveraging public investment, being seen, being recognized in these institutional halls of power that have been used against our community for generations. And so as a Black person myself, I just feel really moved by being able to be here in this seat of power and being able to support you and your team's work in this way, to be able to say Black economic power and that to not be controversial. Like, it's because y'all have laid the groundwork for us to be able to do that. So thank you, because you're shifting the energy and the focus within these halls of power. So thank you. To see a forgivable loan, to see grant, like that's big, and that speaks volumes to your leadership and that you have said, this is what we're going to do, and you're making it happen. And it's amazing to watch it unfold. And I'm so grateful to be able to be of support. Creating the truest building wealth is when we own it ourselves. And that's one of the challenges that we've experienced for generations, is a lack of ability to access ownership. And this is really rooted in ownership. And that is just so powerful. So thank you for bucking what capitalism says we're supposed to do, right? Make a big profit and consolidate the wealth. But instead, this is about true, equitable wealth building. So the model even itself, like for you to put that flag in the ground and say, we're going to be bucking it this way, this is how we're going to organize it, and then to see it actually happening, it's like, yes. It's so powerful to be seeing this operationalized. So I just want to say thank you for your leadership, for your team's leadership in bringing this to life. Because, there's lots of haters who are like, oh, that's a big vision, I don't know. And she said, actually, that was record time, you're welcome. So so I just wanted to take some time just to love on you, love on your team, saying thank you so much, because you are making the North Side better with your leadership. And I know that I'm very excited to open up my account and be investing in it as well. So, and I hope my colleagues will do the same. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cunningham. Councilmember Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for this presentation. I am so excited to get to vote on this. I think about, as we try to resolve the kinds of affordable housing challenges that we face, the kinds of economic inequality that we face, how different those challenges would look if banking had been as ethical and as people-centered as the vision you put forward over the last 20 years or 100 years. I am filled with hope that we could be solving a different set of problems and not be mired in the same kind of inequality that we're trying to fight our way out of today. So thank you for this vision. Thank you for bringing this forward. I'm very excited to support this.
Thank you, Councilmember Fletcher.
Very much. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just want to echo the similar sentiments. I just love this. I think it's so great. I can't wait to open an account myself. And I hope and I believe you will inspire other organizations that are community focused as well to really help take our future into our own hands here and make the world a better place through these member-driven cooperative models. So thank you. And we just love this and wish you all the most success possible.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. What an inspiring story. Thank you for the hard work you've done. Shout out to Sam as well, who used to work here. So I'm actually part of your team. So welcome back. And this is a very inspiring story. I'm reminded of an old communist leader in China who said, "To get rich is glorious." And I hope a lot of people get rich off this project, especially from our communities. And thanks to our staff for the work that they've done on this project, and wonderful presentation, very supportive. I think it's one of the best discussion presentations we've had on our committee. because we talk a lot about reducing inequality. And I think this is one of the best ways. We are a capitalist society,
Right.
for good or bad, and we have to participate in the economics of our society. So I think this is a step in the right direction, and I hope many other projects worthwhile comes out of the Black Economic Association for Black Economic Power. So
Yes.
thank you, congratulations, and I move forward with pleasure to approve this item. Those in approval say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Well, nobody's against it, so thank you, congratulations. Having concluded the committee's business, we are adjourned. Thank you.